How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Sports Talk Podcast with Alec Pecano. Today's show, we will be going over my AL East projections for 2024 from standings to breakout players to prospects to bounce back potential. Let's. Let's get the video started here. First part of the video, the first segment we're going over is the AL East standings, my AL East standings predictions for 2024. I think in first place, winning the AL East for the second year in a row is going to be the Baltimore Orioles. I think they're going to go 101 and 86. I said 80. I was off by 2 losses, but I do think they have 86. They have between 84 and 86 losses. In second place is the New York Yankees going 94 and 74. But first, back to the Orioles. I like the moves the Orioles have made this offseason, especially trading for Corbin Burnes. I think that's going to help out their rotation a whole lot this year. Now to the Yankees. So, the one thing with the Yankees is, can all their big players, all their big guys stay healthy? So far, already that has not been proven. If you haven't heard the news, Garrett Cole is going to miss 2 to 3 weeks to start the season, it looks like. He'll be shut down from throwing a baseball for 2 to 3 weeks. But I still like the Yankees to finish second place in the American League East with a 94 and 74 record. Now, in third place, this was a toss-up. I could have put Toronto here, but as you see, Toronto's one spot below the Tampa Bay Rays. This is totally non-biased. My reasoning here for why the Rays is third and not Toronto is I like the moves the Rays have made this offseason. And I think the Rays are going to finish 93 and 84. First of all, let me go over. They traded Tyler Glasnow and Manuel Margot to the Dodgers for Johnny DeLuca and Ryan Pepiot. Now, here's what I have to say about that trade. I knew Glasnow was eventually going to get moved. I just didn't know when. And I didn't know to who. There was many teams that wanted Glasnow, but did they also want to take on Manuel Margot? I think the reason the Dodgers took Margot and Glasnow, Margot, it was just his salary, and then they dumped him off. He got traded again to the Twins for a couple of lower level prospects. But I like Glasnow getting. I like the package the Rays got back for Glasnow. I'm not mad at it. The Rays are gonna need Ryan Pepiot, especially now with the news of Taj Bradley being out for probably a week or two to start the season. And I also like the signing of Ahmed Rosario for the Rays. Because now it's Johnny. Obviously, if you didn't see the news, Johnny DeLuca is going to be out for a couple weeks. Josh Lowe's going to be out too, which he's one of my hint. You may see Josh Lowe in the next segment of this show today. But back to the standings. So, like I said, the Rays are going to finish 93 and 84. Toronto Blue Jays finished 90 and 85. I don't really. It's head scratching the moves the Blue Jays have made this offseason, signing Justin Turner, not being serious about going out and getting Ohtani. I think if they got Otani, that would have been a really good signing for them. I do like they're bringing back Kiermaier. I think Kiermaier's I think Kiermaier's a good fit right now in Toronto. But my issue is their pitching. They could have gone out and got Blake Snell. They could have traded for Corbin Burns. They could have gone out and signed one of the big free agent pitchers, but they didn't. They stuck with what they have right now. And now that's the opposite of reaping the benefits. They're seeing pain because Manoah's hurt. Manoah has a shoulder issue. Gosman's out. We don't know how long yet. We know it's nothing to do with his. I think it's a shoulder issue for Gosman. But you lose Gosman for a little bit, that's going to hurt. Barrios is their opening day starter against the Rays. But I just have a tough time putting Toronto in front of either Tampa Bay or New York. And in last place, unfortunately, again, is the Boston Red Sox. 74-90, I think is going to be their record. I think I would have gave them a couple more wins if Lucas Giolito was still healthy. If Lucas Giolito doesn't have this elbow injury that he's not going to need surgery for, but he's going to miss all of 2024, it sounds like, I would have had the Red Sox maybe around 80 to 82 wins. But I can't give them more than 74 to 75 wins now with 90 losses. AL East breakout players 2024. We're going to start with the Baltimore Orioles. And as you see, every team has two guys on this list. Two players that I think could break out. For the Orioles, I was having a tough time here. I had four guys that I could have put on it for them. I could have put Jackson Holiday on there, Jordan Westbrook, but the two guys I chose were Gunnar Henderson and Grayson Rodriguez. And I know what you're going to say. What do you consider a breakout? I would consider, like, Gunnar Henderson had, I would say, a mini breakout last year. If I'm projecting Gunnar Henderson this year for the Orioles, I think he's in for a very batting average. He hit over 300 last year. I think he can hit close to 330 with 28, 29 home runs and I'm going to say 25 to 30 stolen bases with an on-base percentage of over 800. Grayson Rodriguez. Now, with Grayson Rodriguez, what I consider a breakout for Mr. Rodriguez is under a 5 ERA, under a 4. I think Grayson Rodriguez can finish with a 3.45 ERA on the season in 30 to 40 starts. He gets over 140 strikeouts and only walks. If he has the control, I think he only issues 67 walks the entire season. So again, your two breakout guys for the Orioles are Baltimore Orioles are Gunnar Henderson and Grayson Rodriguez. New York Yankees. The first one, this one is kind of, I think he's going to be a depth piece in the outfield because you got Soto in left, Judge in center, and I think Pereira might play right field or they might put somebody else in right field. If Pereira's playing right field, I think Pereira, I've seen a lot of tape on him. Smooth swing at the plate, really good arm in the outfield. I think he hits 285, 290 with 15 to 20 home runs, and 20 to 25 stolen bases. On base percentage of 780. And then the second guy from the Yankees that I think has a breakout season is second year shortstop Anthony Volpe. Now, you may look at me and say, how are you going to tell me Anthony Volpe is going to have a breakout season? He struggled as a rookie. I'm going to explain to you right now that Volpe is going to have a breakout season if one of two things happens. They take the pressure off of him and hit him in the middle of the order, like fifth or sixth, and he has either Stanton, a Rizzo, or a Judge hitting before or after him for protection. If that happens for Volpe, I think he hits 290 with about 25 to 30 home runs, and 25, I think he could be a 30-30 guy. Come back to this video at the end of the season if I'm correct about Anthony Volpe being a 30-30 guy. Tampa Bay Rays, their two breakout players for me. Their first one is catcher Rene Pinto. Now, if we look at this, who was the starting catcher last year for the Rays? The catcher combination last year was Mejia and Bethancourt. Mejia's back with the Rays, but he's on a minor league deal, and Bethancourt's gone. I think this is a smash spot for Rene Pinto to break out. He is going to get majority of the starting reps behind the plate. And I think he can be a 280 to 290 hitter with around, let's say, 60 to 70 RBIs, on base percentage of 580 or higher, and he walks, I'm going to say 8 or 9% of the time. He does strike out a lot. That's the only thing that worries me about this breakout for Rene Pinto is strikeout. His strikeout rate, I'm not going to say through the roof, but it's alarming, to say the least. The second breakout candidate for the Rays in 2024 is going to be Taj Bradley. Yes, I understand Taj Bradley's probably going to miss a couple weeks to start the season, but I still believe that he's penciled in to be the number 4 starter and go out there every 5th day and give the Rays 6, maybe 7 innings, maybe every once in a while 8 innings. Who knows? But I think that Taj Bradley will have a breakout season, and my prediction for his stats is I think he can finish the season with a 340, 325, 330 ERA with around, I'm going to say 115 strikeouts to 67 or 70 walks. Ground ball percentage. Bradley is a very good ground ball pitcher. So I'm going to say his ground ball rate's going to be in the high 40s. Fly ball rate, low 20s. And I think he has at least 13 or 14 wins. And if he's somehow out on your waiver wire in fantasy baseball, he is one of the guys I would pick up and stash in your IL spot. Boston Reds, Toronto Blue Jays. Let's get to their two breakout players for 2024. Their first one is a guy that is competing for a starting rotation spot, and that is Bowden Francis. Mr. Francis. And if I had to project that he'd be in their starting rotation, I'm going to say he's going to probably make 20 to 25 starts, 345 ERA or lower for Bowden Francis with, let's go with 111 strikeouts and 85 walks with a ground ball rate of 45, between 40 and 45%. Fly ball rate 25 to 30%. And I think that would be a good breakout year for him. The last guy on the Blue Jays that I think is in for a breakout year is catcher Alejandro Kirk. Because if you haven't heard the news, Danny Jansen's going to miss time to start the season. And I think that paves the way for the one and the only Alejandro Kirk. Mr. Kirk, I think he's going to have, for a breakout year for him, and I think he's going to take over as that number one catcher in Toronto. He's going to hit around 285, 290, maybe 300 if you're lucky. With, I'm going to say 25 home runs and maybe 10 stolen bases. Because he's a catcher, and catchers aren't really supposed to steal bases. That doesn't mean that he can't steal bases, but I think that 10 stolen bases is the perfect number for a catcher. And that is a good breakout year for him. Now the Boston Red Sox, the last team on this list. Their first breakout player is a guy that started to show signs of breaking out toward the end of in the middle of the end of last year. Outfielder Jarren Duran. And now he's going to be playing every day in the outfield for Boston. And I think it's in right field, I believe, because they got rid of Verdugo to pave the way for Jarren Duran to get more playing time out there. So Duran, I think a breakout year for him consists of hitting 285 with, let's go, 23 to 25 home runs. And I think he could be a 20 homer, 30 steal candidate for a breakout. And lower his slash that strikeout rate in half too. And the last breakout potential guy is Boston Red Sox pitcher Brian Bayo, who just signed an extension in the offseason. Actually, during spring training, he signed an extension with the Red Sox. A breakout year for him, I'm going to say, is a 308 ERA or lower. I think if he puts it all together, he could finish with a 290 ERA with around 140 to 150 strikeouts, maybe 160. With, like you saw a minute ago, I don't think Boston's winning many games, but I think most of their wins will come when he pitches. So I think he finishes with 15 to 16 wins. Fly ball rate of around 45%. Ground ball rate 55%. So that's a 50-40 split. Now here's some bounce back candidates for the AL East in 2024. First bounce back candidate is Brandon Lau of the Tampa Bay Rays. And this is simple explanation. Health. His injury, look at Brandon Lau's injury history. He has missed a lot of time with whether it was a back injury. I think he had an oblique injury a couple years ago. hamstring, knee. You can keep going on with the injuries for Lau. I think if he can stay healthy and get 150 games in, I think Brandon Lau could have a bounce back season. Baltimore Orioles, Keegan Aiken. This one's simple. Look at his earn run average from last season. If he can lower that, I think he can have a really good season. New York Yankees. Outfielder / DH, Giancarlo Stanton. So, Mr. Stanton, it's the same thing I said about Brandon Lau a second ago. Injury history. I think he's played less than 100 games over the last 3 years. Now, if Stanton, the reports coming out of Yankee camp is Stanton came into camp looking leaner and meaner, according to reports from Yankees beat writers and some Yankees fans. And if that's the case, he should be able to play around 150, 160 games this year. And if he does, I think we get Stanton turning back the clock to when he was with the Marlins in his first couple years with the Yankees. Boston Red Sox, Liam Hendricks, relief pitcher. Now, everybody knows the story about Liam Hendricks last year when he was with the White Sox, how he missed a portion of the season due to recovering from cancer treatment. And he struggled when he came back. He mightily struggled. He had over a 5 ERA. If he can bounce back and get back into form of what he was his first 6 or 7 years with the White Sox, the Red Sox got a bargain for what they signed Liam Hendricks for. Toronto Blue Jays, Chad Green. Same thing with Chad Green, but it's not injuries. It is his command. Sometimes his command is really good. Sometimes it's shaky. And if he can fix his command and throw strikes consistently, I think he can have a really good bounce back year for the Blue Jays. And the last portion is prospects. AL East prospects, Prospect Watch 2024. And in this section, as you can see, we are going over some prospects to watch for the 2024 season and beyond. So we're going to start with the Baltimore Orioles. Like I said a minute ago, Jackson Holliday would have been in the breakout section, but I have him here for one reason. He is the best prospect in the Orioles system right now. And I know people are going to say, oh, he's going to make the opening day roster. Is he? I think he will make the opening day roster if they can find him a spot to get consistent ABs. That's the key with him, is he needs consistent at-bats. If he can get consistent at-bats, I think he plays every day in the big leagues this year. And the other prospect from the Orioles that everybody should keep their eye on, and Jackson Holliday's ETA is 2024. Same with pitcher Alex Pham. His ETA is 2024 as well. And his best pitch is his fastball. And I think Alex Pham could be up this year for the Orioles if they run into injuries with their pitching like they did last year. New York Yankees, the two prospects I have for them are Spencer Jones and Clayton Beeter. So Spencer Jones, he's getting comparisons to a current Yankee, Giancarlo Stanton. They say that Spencer Jones is the left-handed version of Giancarlo Stanton, which I've watched some of his film from the spring so far. And I can say I absolutely 1000% agree with that statement that Spencer Jones is a left-handed version of Giancarlo Stanton. His MLB ETA is 2025. The next guy for the Yankees is right-handed pitcher Clayton Beeter. Now, his ETA is 2024. I think he will be up within the first couple months of the season for the Yankees. If Cole's not going to come back at all this year, I think you see Clayton Beeter with it before July 1st. Before July is when you see Clayton Beeter. I think middle to end of June is a possibility for Clayton Beeter to get called up. Now let's go to the Tampa Bay Rays and their two prospects to watch. The first one, he's been mashing in the spring. It is first baseman Xavier Isaac. Now, here's a little backstory on Xavier Isaac. When he was drafted by the Rays, everybody was looking at that like, oh, the Rays reached. But no, it doesn't look like, all of a sudden now, it doesn't look like they reached. This looks like a really good pick that the Rays made when this kid was coming out of college. And I was one of the people at first that said, oh, this is a reach. Why are you taking a kid that's had 2 years of college ball? And now I look back at it and I say, okay, maybe I was wrong. This kid has been mashing in the spring. But he's still, as you can see, his ETA is 2026. But I can see him pushing for a spot on the roster next year in 2025. And maybe getting a little cup of tea in the big leagues in 2024 at some point. If the Rays run into injury at first base with Yandy Diaz and Isaac Paredes. And the second prospect for the Rays to watch in 2024 is left-handed pitcher Ian Seymour. And yes, his MLB ETA is this year. So I would expect at some point for him to be on a big league club this year for the Rays. Whether that be the Rays find ways to call guys up. Look at Tosh Bradley last year. They called him up 4 different times. And the last time he stuck with the Rays. I expect the Rays to do that same thing with Ian Seymour if they call him up. Call him up to make a start, send him back down, call him up, send him back down. Because you can send down a guy, I believe it's 5 times before they have to go through waivers. The Toronto Blue Jays are next. And the first prospect I want y'all to keep your eyes on for the Blue Jays is left-handed pitcher Ricky Tiedemann. Blue Jays fans, please enlighten me if I said his last name wrong. I believe it's Tiedemann. I've heard Tiedemann. I've heard Tiedemann. What is the correct pronunciation? Please let me know in the comments down below. But he's another guy that he's been getting hyped up in Blue Jays camp as a guy maybe that could have made the roster, but I think they sent him back to AAA, to minor league camp to work on some things. I could see him being up this year at some point. His ETA is 2024, and so is the next guy on the Blue Jays. Alan Roden, outfielder, 2024. He's another guy. He really hasn't gotten that many at-bats in spring, but I could see an avenue where they have some outfield, where they have injuries in the outfield. The Blue Jays do, and they are forced to call up Alan Roden. I'm not going to give you a set timeline on when they call him up compared to Ricky Tiedemann. Tiedemann, I think they'll call him up if he dominates the first couple months in AAA. I think he gets called up within the first month and a half of the regular season for MLB, for the Blue Jays. If he struggles, maybe it's June or July that he gets called up. But like I said, if he's shelving in the minors and he has an under 1 ERA with an under 1 WHIP, give it a month and a half, less than a month and a half, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and he gets called up to the big leagues. And the last team in the American League East, prospect watch, is the Boston Red Sox. And their 2 prospects that you should keep your eye on are shortstop. Marcelo Meyer is number 1. The thing with Meyer is his bat. He's also a really, really good defender, but he knows how to hit. He's a really hitter. And I think the reason they sent him back down is because he's blocked right now at short because they got Cedane Rafaela that's competing for that job with Trevor Story. I think if Rafaela wins that job, I know he's also competing for the center field job too, but I think they want him in the lineup every day. That is why Marcelo Meyer is going to start the year in AAA. But I think if Meyer rakes and somebody on the big league Cubs struggles, like a Cedane Rafaela, Trevor Story, Vaughn Grissom, I think that's when you see Mr. Meyer get called up. And then the last guy's right-handed pitcher, Brian Mata. His MLB ETA is 2024 as well. But with him, they're trying him out as a relief pitcher now. He was a starter coming up through the minors, but he's had some injury issues over the last couple years. So the Red Sox want to try him out as a reliever. I would still say that he's going to be up this year if he starts the year off really well in AAA. Because we know the Red Sox, they're not necessarily going to compete this year. I'm not going to say they're going to be one of the worst teams, but I don't think they're going to be one of the best teams in baseball. And if you've enjoyed this video so far, please leave a thumbs up. Please remember to leave a thumbs up. Let's try to get this video to 10 likes for another episode of the Sports Talk Podcast on Thursday and Friday. And also, as well, please remember to turn on notifications. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already for more sports content I know you're going to like. And we do offer memberships here with this YouTube channel. They start at 99 cents a month. Highly recommended that you go and purchase a membership. You won't regret it. We are supposed to be on Friday interviewing Dorian James. He's going to be a former North Florida basketball player. He's graduating. We are still waiting for confirmation on his part. What Tommy wants to do the interview, I will keep everybody updated on that. But until the next video, Sports Talk Podcast family, peace.